First one being that my goal at this point is to upload the videos to YouTube for you guys to watch if you missed the class or whatnot. It won't let me create a YouTube channel at the moment. Something was going on with YouTube. So I'm going to try that because it'll be the easiest way just to watch it so you can do it like on your phone and stuff. So as soon as I have that, I will send that out. Second thing is make sure you read the message I sent out yesterday regarding the AP Classroom or College Board videos. They are putting out a lot of really good stuff. They are great for going back and reviewing. They'll be available for live watching if you want, or you can go back and watch their videos. But they're being put on by a couple of really good people. So, and then if you have any other AP classes, they
We can
also
hear
work.
you with Twitch.
You have to mute Twitch, sweetie.
Huh?
You need to mute Twitch.
Okay.
Remember we went through this yesterday with Kara, I think it was?
No.
No. I forget who it was.
We didn't use Twitch yesterday.
Yeah, we did. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Yesterday? No, we didn't.
It was a
The
different
first
class.
day we did.
I forget who it was. I did it in a different class. Oh, it was in, that was my pre-calc class. Yeah, you have to mute Twitch, otherwise you'll double hear everything, which I'm assuming you don't want.
Okay.
But that way, the Twitch will have audio for the video that gets posted.
Okay.
Oh, it actually has it now?
Yes, it didn't have it the first day because I didn't need random people listening into just our conversation. I just wanted to make sure everybody could get to the stream and everything.
Okay.
Okay, so you should have your AP Classroom pulled up, so if you have questions as we're going through things, this is why phones, which almost everybody is on, may not be the best option if you're using just a phone. Number one, do we have questions? Here, I can do this. It might make it easier for you guys on your phones. There. Ooh, actually, I don't know if I can do that. I don't think I'm allowed to show these on stream. My bad. I don't know if that's against the rules. I'll have to find that out.
Oh well.
But I don't think they want me streaming them, so we'll not be doing that. Didn't think about that. Questions on number one? Number two?
Are we at multiple choice?
I just can't see where you're getting like the numbers from.
The multiple choice?
Which one?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I know that. Oh, it's right here. I was in the wrong section.
I was like, what are you talking about? Number one is just the first
Okay,
one.
there we go. I was in like the wrong section, so I could see like the topic that it was under, but I couldn't see the actual question, so I was just confused.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I'll start back over now. Anybody else need to pull up their AP Classroom? Okay, number one.
Probably. I didn't get like any of them right.
Okay, so where's my marker? So g of x is ln of x. F prime equals. So basically they gave you g of x is equal to ln of x in case you're not looking at the question. They told you that we have f of g of x, and they basically want f prime. So anytime you have a function inside of a function, what do we have to do to take the derivative?
Chain rule.
Chain rule. So our f prime of x will be equal to f prime of g of x times g prime of x. So that answer matches up to not A or B. C does not do the chain rule properly, it just does the first part, so C is out, so D is our answer there. So f prime of ln of x times 1 over x, since 1 over x is the derivative of ln of x.
Wait, what? Hold on.
What am I holding on to?
I'm confused.
By what?
I don't know.
Then I can't help you. I've told you this many times, Deborah.
No, I'm trying to compare this thing to the question that you're looking at so I can figure out why I'm confused.
What's your
Because
number
this
one
is
say?
the g of x equals ln of x, blah, 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 the same problem that you just read.
Yeah, so you just take the derivative of f of g of x. So you have to take the
Okay.
derivative of the outside, leave the inside alone, then multiply by the derivative of the inside function.
Oh, okay. So then the g prime of x would technically be whatever the derivative of ln of x.
Right, which is the 1 over x, which is why the answer is D, because the part C does not have the times 1 over x part.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I assume I'll kind of just quickly go over all of them. So,
Yeah.
for which the following function is chain rule and appropriate method. So, chain rule, obviously on number 2 again. Number 1 there uses chain rule because you have to do the derivative of the inside. Part 2 does not use the chain rule, that is a product rule. So the question is, does 3 use chain rule? And you got to be careful with this question because I went over it in BC. The chain rule is not required for part 3, but notice how it doesn't say required, it says an appropriate method. What they're expecting you to do for number 3, 8x to the fourth minus 2x, is to rewrite it as 8x squared. I don't know what it is. I don't know if those are the right numbers exactly, I forgot them, but if you put it to the negative first power like that, then you can take the derivative that way, and that is a chain rule. So 3 is a chain rule. So you got to be careful on that one. You don't have to use chain rule.
Crap.
You could use quotient rule, which again, we've talked about this. I would not suggest using the quotient rule since the top is a constant function. So I would use the chain rule on that one. Any questions on 2? Okay, 3. Hopefully should be pretty straightforward. Do I need to do number 3 for anybody? Deborah, put your phone on silent.
No, I'm actually okay.
And Annabelle, stop texting her.
It's not Annabelle
I'm not texting her anymore.
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 So, do we have any questions on number 3? Number 4?
Yeah.
Okay. What does number 4 use?
I don't really know. That was part of the problem.
Okay, what? Anybody else can answer as well. What method are we going to use on number 4? Anybody remember the name for it, please?
Implicit differentiation.
Thank you, Alyssa. All
Yeah, I
right.
did that.
Someone read me the problem. It's y cubed. What?
Minus xy squared plus x cubed equals 5.
Okay, so take your, that's a terrible 5.
And it's at the
That's
point
still
1,
bad,
2.
whatever. 1, 2, okay. So take your derivatives. Remember, when you take the derivative of y, you do need either y prime or dy dx. I don't care which one you write. I'm going to write y prime to make my life easier. Minus y squared. This is the part you probably messed up on, is when you take the derivative of xy squared. You forgot the parentheses, most likely. Plus 2x y prime plus 3x squared equals 0. So that is what your first line of a derivative should look like. So and then the really nice part about this is we are not trying to solve for dy dx or anything. So at this point, I would go ahead and plug in all of my numbers if I was you guys working this problem. So plug in the 1 and the 2 and then solve for y prime. Since we're going to, on other problems, need to solve for dy dx, I'm going to solve for y prime. So the first thing I'm going to do is distribute plus minus minus. And then I'm going to get all my y primes on one together and everything else on the other side. So we get y prime 3y squared minus 2xy is equal to y squared minus. So move everything that does not have a y prime in it over to the right hand side, and I went ahead and factored out my y prime of everything that was left on the left hand side there. And then divide by everything attached to the y prime. And again, I would not suggest doing this on this problem. I would only do this just as practice to get your y prime by itself. So if you had to solve for dy dx, for instance, you would have to do all this. I would have, at this point right here, went ahead and plugged in the 1 and the 2 just to make that problem a lot easier. And now just plug in your 1s and 2s. So you get, so y prime, evaluate that 1, 2 is equal to 4 minus 3 over 12 minus 4, which is 1/8 if I did my math right. Is the answer B? Yeah, I did it right. Okay. Any questions? Okay, number 5.
Wait, I couldn't figure out how to talk before. I had a question on 3 because I couldn't figure out what it meant.
Okay, that's fine. I'll look back at 3. So for 3, they just want you to take the derivative of that. Basically, I'm going to use chain rule and product rule. I'll do it real fast.
How do I do it with the F?
I'm going to show you. Hold on. Anybody have any questions on 4 before I erase that? Okay. Okay, so it was 1 plus f of 3x. Oops, all squared, correct? Okay. So h prime, you got to follow your order. So this is a chain rule. So the first thing I do is move the 2 out front. So 2, 1 plus, subtract by 1, so 2 minus 1 is 1, so I don't need anything. Then don't forget to multiply by the derivative of the inside. Derivative of the inside would be f prime of 3x times 3. Okay. I will warn you, be very careful putting that derivative of the inside in parentheses like I showed on this problem. On other problems, it can become much more difficult if you're not careful. Okay. Number 5.
Can you go over that one?
Yeah. Sin x plus y. So sin x plus y. What was on the right hand side?
It's sine x plus y equals 3x minus 2y.
Okay. So we're looking for a derivative, if I remember correctly, right? dy dx.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember doing this one. Okay, so derivative of the left-hand side. is going to be derivative sign is negative cosine. Leave the inside alone. Times the derivative of the inside. You, again, have to be careful with this, putting it in parentheses. If you don't put this in parentheses, you're probably going to make a mistake. Derivative of x is 1. Derivative of y is, we can call that y prime. And then equals derivative of the right-hand side is 3 minus 2y prime. Okay, so then at that point, if I'm trying to solve for y prime, we need to get the y primes by themselves. However, since I have 2, I'm going to have to factor. Get them on the same side and factor out just like I did on the last problem. Or one,
Are you
two
sure
problems.
it's negative cosine?
It's not, thank you. So then take your, at this point the hard part here is to realize you have to distribute this cosine of x plus y to both of these. So we end up with the right hand or left hand side being cosine x plus y plus y prime cosine x plus y. 3 minus 2y prime. Get your y primes together on the same side, so I'm going to move the negative 2y prime over and move the cosine x plus y over. So I get y prime cosine x plus y plus 2y prime is equal to 3 minus cosine x plus y. Factor out the y primes that are in both terms on the left. So cosine x plus y plus 2. And then divide by what's attached to the y prime. So cosine x plus y plus 2, so that they cancel. And what's left on the right hand side is your answer. And thank you for catching that, Kayla. I was doing the problem from BC last time, it was negative. So that matches up to answer choice D for me. Any questions on what I did? Okay, nobody? I know I needed to do 6 before I didn't even ask.
Yep, do 6.
Yeah, I had to do this last period with BC, so this one is definitely a tricky one. It almost caught me off guard for a second. Alright, so we got f of x, g of y equals, what's the right hand side?
17 minus x minus y.
And our point is x equals what?
Negative 2.
What's the y value?
4.
4. Okay. So this one's actually a quite difficult problem if you're not very careful. The problem comes from taking the derivative of this over here. So obviously it's a product rule, so that's not too bad. What is the derivative of f of x?
F prime of x.
F prime of it.
Okay, so first part of the derivative quotient rule is pretty easy. F prime of x times g of y. Plus, what's the derivative of g of y?
G prime of y times y prime.
There you go. So that's the part that a lot of people miss, is times the y prime. We have to remember that it's a function of x, so you do need that in there. So it'll be g prime of y times y prime times f of x. And that is the part that is definitely a tricky part. And then equals the right hand side, so derivative on the right hand side will be negative 1 minus y prime. And we're solving for, I assume, y prime.
Probably.
Yes.
Okay.
Or what is the value
Of y prime.
that
So yeah,
point?
so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the algebra solving. Again, at this point, I would not suggest you guys do algebra solving if this is like the AP test or something like that. Just plug in your negative 2, your 4 everywhere, and be done with it. But since I'm doing it and helping you guys, I'm going to share the algebra out. So I'm going to move this y prime over and move the f prime of x g of y to the right. So we end up with, I'm going to put the y prime out front, g of y, f of x plus y prime, negative 1 minus f prime of x, g of y. Factor out my y prime on the left-hand side, and I get g prime of y, f of x plus 1. And then divide just like we did last time. So that's where, like I said, the original derivative is where I anticipated most of the problems would have came from on this one. F of x plus 1. So that cancels. That cancels. Now, one thing I will mention at this point, do not say this is equal to and plug in all the numbers. We cannot do that. That would be, remember we talked about before, it's called a linkage error. So we have to come down and do y prime, and I do the evaluation line, negative 2, 4. And then I can say that is equal to, I start plugging in numbers. So negative 1 minus f prime of negative 2, g of 4. And then what you'll notice as you're doing this, they gave you, this is the one with the chart, I think, right? Where they gave you all the numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you don't have to evaluate and actually do any of that kind of stuff. You just have to pick the numbers from the chart. So what is f prime of negative 2?
4.
G of 4?
5.
G prime of 4? Somebody, G prime of 4?
2.
2.
F of negative 2?
3.
So we get negative 21 over 7, which is negative 3.
Okay, if I back at like pretty close to the beginning, if I put my 1 on the other side of the equation, is that
This one,
okay?
the negative one that I have, that you want to move that to the left-hand side? This,
Well, I moved it to the left hand side. Yeah, that one. I moved it to the left hand side, but I moved my y prime to the right hand side.
yeah, that's fine. It'll get you the
Okay,
same thing.
so
What'll
because
end up happening is when you get your derivative term, so your y prime here will just be basically
yeah,
backwards of mine, which is perfectly fine. So when you
okay,
plug your numbers in, your bottom probably ended up being negative 7, and your top was probably positive 21, which is perfectly fine.
okay,
Yeah, no, that it doesn't matter which side you move everything to. I'm just by habit move all of my stuff I'm solving for to the left-hand side because that's just standard. So, but it does not matter which side you move it to. Okay. Any other questions on that one? Okay, number 7. Do I need to explain that one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the inverse one, right? Yeah. Okay, so this
Yeah.
requires a fact that you may not remember from when we taught it, so I'll give that first before I explain anything. So do we all remember how to solve for an inverse?
you have to like plug in you have to like switch the x and y, and I don't know.
That is correct. So if I want f of x, I have the function to solve for the inverse, which we're going to say g of x is equal to f inverse of x. So if I have this relationship, remember to solve for the inverse, you originally would have had to switch the x and y and solve for them. Well, what that means is when I go to take their derivatives, so f prime of x, we know that's equal to, like if we're doing basic idea, delta y over delta x, which we then change into dy dx for calculus. So that would remember f prime means slope. So back in algebra 1 days, we would use delta y delta x, which is dy dx. What have I done for g of x? So to find g of x, we had to switch them, which basically means that g prime of x is equal to delta x over delta y, or dx not equal. Which now in calculus terms we now use dy dx. Well, what's the difference between the two of them?
Is no one else reading the comments?
Oh yeah.
I was reading the same thing and I was like, what the fuck?
This is why you need a moderator.
Valid. What the heck?
Why are they watching a Calc AB stream like?
I'm
Bro, what the
pretty
fuck?
sure I know who it is.
Who are these people?
Teachers, please show us.
Oh my.
Thanks, Renato. Dude.
Oh my Jesus. Learn math.
I have a question. Just watch what they're gonna reply with.
How do number?
This is golden. Why did they find this random?
Well, obviously
Give
they don't
learn.
speak English.
Give learn.
At
Give
this
learn.
rate.
They speak a little English.
Thomas, give learn.
Quick maths.
Why alphabet?
have numbers. Why tag?
Why church?
Why try?
Why triangle?
Where did this Renato go?
I'm trying to fix and see if I can
Oh, cool.
Turn off chat.
Triangle, corgle, please.
We want number. We are one number.
Is there a way to turn off chat?
Draw me. I don't know.
Yeah, there
Draw
is.
me.
Look it up.
Oh, thanks. Appreciate the help.
I can look it up.
Guys, our valuable class time.
Why can't you ban them?
Play
Front.
front.
Play front night.
Draw picture on whiteboard, please. On whiteboard.
The way they spell white.
Wit.
They done?
Bro, they couldn't spell victory either.
Nope, they're still
We
here.
want Vectri Royale.
I mean, we
The
can all hide
I
chat
is.
if we really wanted to.
Yes, but you're not going to. I know you people.
We're not.
Select the filters you'd like to block in chat. Discrimination. Hostility.
GE triangle.
How do you give donation?
Oh.
Someone's trying to give us all money.
How donate?
Dante.
Do you have a donate alert?
How
I don't have
Dante-
donations even enabled as far as I know.
Oh dang. Donate alert.
Dang.
Oh,
I don't have
dang.
donations even enabled as far as I know.
Oh wait, they can
Can you
still hear
put
you.
Animal
because you're not-
Crossing?
Yes, they can hear everything you're saying. That's the funny part.
Oh.
okay with it.
To e-girl.
What are they gonna do?
Will.
Yes. Why are they all called Squid 3? What about Squid 1 and 2?
What the heck?
Why are all of... What is happening?
Get phone number, please. my god.
Send your feet.
Oh, 41 through 66. What the fuck are these dudes doing?
Emote chat only.
Should I say, can y'all shut the fuck up?
Miguel, no.
Say it and then pretend it's
He
not
already
you.
said it. They can hear. God, you people are not very smart for being smart.
Oh, Don, I promise
You
we're smarter
decided
than
to
we
teach
look.
us. We didn't want to be here, not gonna lie.
That's fine. I don't care. Just close checks. I can't see how to get rid of chat for now. I don't really care if they want to sit there and play around. I'm 90% sure I actually know who it is.
Who do you think it is?
I'm not telling you.
Is it Tana?
It's apparently
We're not
Dimitri.
gonna go bully them. This is funny.
I.
Emote only chat.
Yep.
We can only send emoji.
There. Okay. Close chat so you can pay attention to me, please. All right. So, how are f prime of x and g prime of x related?
F.
Miguel, close chat. How are f prime and g prime related?
Isn't one of them the inverse of the other one?
They are not
Yeah.
inverses, no.
Dang it.
Reciprocals?
They are reciprocals. Yes, we got to make
That's what
sure
I
we use
meant.
proper
That's what I
words. I
That's what
know,
I
that's
meant.
fine. We got to make sure we use proper words. They're
That's
reciprocals. So when we write g prime of x, and what we're actually going to do is write it as g prime of y, and you'll see why in a second, is 1 over. They are reciprocals of each other. Why did I use a y with g prime?
Wait.
Good question.
So we have to remember, if g of x is the inverse of f of x, what values go into an inverse function?
Y's?
Y's go into inverses. So if I have the original point 1 comma 2, 1 would go into f of x, the 2 would go into the g of x since it's the inverse. Remember, we've switched x and y. So for this problem, let's see what was the actual. This is just the tangent line type stuff. So at this point, we realize that f of what f prime of 4 is, what's the slope? Negative 3/4. So f prime of 4 is negative 3/4. So and I want g prime equal, and I'll move this down some. I want g prime of something equals 1 over f prime of 4. 4 is my x, so it has to go into my g prime.
The Y.
So what value in this case on number, whatever we're on, number 7?
6.
6. So that's why we need to understand that the y's are what go into our inverse function. So g prime of 6 will be equal to, reciprocate that, so negative 4/3.
Wait.
What?
F prime of 3/4 is negative, or F prime of 4 is negative,
That's correct,
and
yes.
then the answer is negative.
Yes, because all I do is reciprocate them. I do not do
Oh.
it's not perpendicular.
Okay.
Do I need to do number 8?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, it's the same thing we just did. So g prime of 2.
Never mind. I understand what we did. I'm just gonna try
Okay.
it on my own.
Okay. Nine. Do I need to do number 9, anybody?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Sorry, I was
Okay.
trying to find it.
You're fine. So before I even start, what does that 2 value in g prime of 2 represent?
Why?
Y.
Oh,
So
why?
we have to be very careful there. You can throw out, actually, I think almost every single answer choice just by knowing that. So if that is 2 is the y, what value is going to go into my f function?
An X.
But what value in this case?
4.
4. So at that point, we can go ahead and just answer the question because we realize that 4 has to go into the f function since that's the x value. So the answer has to be C.
Wait, what?
The 2 inside of g prime,
Mm-hmm.
that represents a y value because it's
Yes.
the inverse. So if I
Yeah.
look at the f of x row,
Oh,
that's the
okay,
y
okay.
values. That one being 2 at the very end means the x value is 4.
Yeah.
So if I plug into the f function, it has to be 4 plugged in, and the only one that does that is C.
Yeah.
Number 10. Who didn't remember their derivative of arc sine?
I don't
Here's
know. I
Miguel.
just guessed.
I'm surprised you didn't look up the derivative of arc sine.
To be
Derivative.
honest, I did.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not gonna cap. I did either. I did too.
I did either.
I did either.
Whoops.
Good thing we're gonna alternate test on the English test this year for you there, Thomas.
Perfect. Wait, I thought the alternate was harder.
I don't know what we're doing. Oh no, for Ace. I don't know what they're doing yet. We don't know what they're doing, so. So the answer on 10 has to be B because that's the only one that matches the form of arc sine.
Oh, I did. I guessed it right.
You guessed it right.
Yes. Make sure you definitely know your derivatives. Oh, I guess I don't know this year. What this year, honestly.
It doesn't matter because we could just have the paper next to us, can't we?
I mean, I'm assuming it's all calculator based, so I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That you don't have to memorize. You could have had them in your calculator. So it's not going to be a basic derivative though, because it's obviously going to be much more difficult than that.
Yeah.
Now, could arcsine or arctangent appear? Yes, but we'll see. I don't know what's going to actually happen.
Just that, no function on the inside.
Yeah, just arcsine of x. They're just going to ask a straight up derivative of that. Yeah, that's
That's
definitely
the
not
only
going to
response.
happen. I
Just
can
part A.
guarantee you that will not happen.
It'd be nice if it did.
It won't.
Be optimistic. Just
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna go easy on us this year. What if you didn't cover integrals at all, so they only test us on derivatives?
They already said what they're going to cover you on. Good job for reading that website there.
I did read the website. I'm trying to make it funny, okay?
You are funny.
Thank
Looking.
you.
All right. So I'm not going over 11 because
Take
that's the
any
same
compliment I
thing.
can get. You just have to isolate the compliment. It's like selective hearing.
Number 12. I'm assuming I probably need to discuss number 12.
Can you tell me what the answer?
Yes, please. I don't
You can look
I
at
guessed
the
on this one,
answers.
too.
You do realize that, right?
Well, no, because I forgot to submit it, and I don't want to submit it now because I feel like it's not going to show.
I don't care if you submit it now.
No, I just is it going to show me what I did?
But the answer is C. 2 and 3 were both work. So 1 obviously is definitely wrong. How did they get 1?
Because it looks like
It's a fraction.
Oh, because arc sine is also like signed to quote unquote
Oh.
negative first.
Right. So you have to remember the two different ways of writing inverse sine. One of them is being arc sine, and one of them is sine to the negative first. We typically use sine to the negative first. That does not mean 1 over sine. So that's what they did for I, which is clearly wrong. For 2 or double I, what they're saying is if you take sine of the right-hand side, you get x, and then you can use the chain rule at that point to differentiate, which weirdly enough is worded very weirdly, but is the exact same thing as what number 3 says. Because in order to get line 3, they had to take the sine of both sides, which is what part 2 is saying. 2 is just worded very weirdly. So if you picked answer choice B, I completely understand.
Yeah, that's what I picked.
You're perfectly fine.
That's
Honestly,
fine.
we went over this. The only reason I really know this is because I went over it last period with BC. I personally picked B just because 2 was worded very weirdly and I had no clue really what they were doing. So I picked B as well because I didn't really understand what they were saying with 2 at first. But 2 is basically just the first step of what you would do to get 3. So, yeah.
And someone told me to pick C. Now I'm mad at them.
C is the right answer.
Exactly.
Did you not pick C?
No, I picked B.
Should have listened.
Listen, Tyler's in like 3 maths below. I didn't trust him.
That's fine. 13 should have been hopefully pretty easy.
Yeah, that was easy.
I'd be really scared if any of you missed 13.
D.
Well, I missed it,
obviously.
but I really didn't do it, so I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not my fault.
Hey guys, like the easiest question on here, I didn't even look at or do.
Wait, what was that?
I kind of given up by that point, so
Did you just ask what the answer was?
Yeah, I can't submit it because it's not gonna show me the thing.
You can, and it will, but okay. What did you put for the answer, Valeria?
I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
Because you just said it on
Yeah, I know. That's why I want to know what you put. I'm not going to tell you the answer until you tell me. I guess I'm not telling you the answer then.
Ooh, get Nene on.
That's fine.
Okay, fine. The answer is C.
I feel like that's not true.
No,
Oh.
for real, it's C. It's C. Like, he's completely 100% at C.
Literally not.
What did you put, Valeria?
I'm not
Well, the answer is C, so did you get it right or wrong?
doing. Why is it C?
What did you put?
What?
What else would you have put? Okay, cool. B's right. C clearly doesn't have anything being multiplied, Valeria. How could it be C?
just roll away. That's the answer I put.
And you also sound like you're really far from your phone, Valeria.
Oh, well, it's on my speaker. Well.
Okay, that's fine. I was just letting you know. Number 14 should have been
Oh,
easy
hey, I accidentally got this one right.
if. How do you accident? These are the easiest problems.
Because I guessed.
Oh, Jesus.
But I see when I got that answer from, so it's okay.
Okay. Anybody have any actual questions on number 14? Number 15. I don't think that should be hard. Hopefully nobody put answer choice B though.
Okay, it literally will not show me my unit 3 because I submitted it and now I can't see it.
You have to go. I forget exactly how you do it. One of them can walk you
Go
through
to
it in a second.
results.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, maybe like reload the page or something.
Yeah, you have to wait a couple seconds and reload it. It'll be there. But 15 should have been hopefully pretty easy for everybody. 16 shouldn't have been too hard. Hopefully, it's just a straightforward derivative.
17, though, please.
Sure. Let me see what 17 says. Relating derivatives. Okay, so they gave you, make sure you understand which one they gave you. They told you multiple different ways, and in giant bold letters below the graph, that is the graph of f prime. So the graph of f prime, and they're asking a question about f double prime. How do I get from f prime to f double prime?
And take another
Take a
derivative.
derivative.
Okay, well clearly I can't take a derivative because I have a graph.
You look at the slope.
You look at the slope.
Is
There you go. So slopes.
Yeah.
So basically they want to know where is f double prime the greatest. Well, I'm looking at the slope, so they're asking the question, where is the slope the greatest? So
It's B.
B, yes.
Yeah.
Obviously,
That
C is not right because C is 0. D is negative. Be very careful. They're not just looking for the biggest number of the slope. They want the greatest value. So you need to have, since D is negative, that's why D is not the correct answer. And then A obviously is less, I don't know, less slopey. I don't even know what you would say that.
Less slopey.
Steep, yes, that would be a good word. If my brain apparently wasn't working. 17. So B, A is less steep, because I couldn't remember that word. Thank you, Alyssa. Then B. So B is the correct answer.
Wait, I didn't say that.
I thought it was you.
I did.
Oh, Kenna. My bad. You all sound alike.
Wow. We don't look alike though.
He never.
That was
Yeah,
kind,
you do.
that was kind of the joke. You're very opposite ends of the spectrum. All right, and then 18.
Yeah,
I can't believe I got it.
I did.
Okay, you
Yeah.
gotta do 18 because I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Okay, so they gave me.
I got it right, but I don't know what I did.
Deborah.
Sounds like something Will would say.
No, Will would have got it right and done all the work just on his calculator, not showed me anything.
Well, it's okay. It's multiple choice. You don't have to show anything, right?
And I'm pretty sure out loud he just said, "Yes, sir." All right. So, yeah, that's the right point. Okay, so what is the dy dx?
I'm so kind of asleep.
Dy dx equals square root of what?
4 times the square root of y squared plus 7x squared.
Y squared what?
It's 4 times the square root of y squared. Outside, there you go.
Whoa.
Y squared plus 7x squared.
Is that it? Just y squared plus 7x squared?
Yes, plus 7x
Okay.
squared.
And then we want the second derivative, correct?
Yes.
D squared y over. Alright, so take the derivative of that. Remember, I would suggest rewriting this as y squared plus 7x squared to the 1/2. So bring your 1/2 out front. So 1/2 times 4 gives me 2. Leave the inside alone. Negative 1/2 times the derivative of the inside. Derivative of the inside is a, we have to be careful and use implicit differentiation. So you get 2y, y prime, plus 14x.
Yeah.
Now at this point, you got to be careful with the y prime there when we go to plug values in. So what I would suggest doing is go ahead and evaluating dy dx. Either you have two options actually on this problem. You can substitute the y prime in, or you can just figure out what y prime is when you plug in the 1 and the 3. Either way, it works out to be about the same amount of work. So 2y is 3, so 3 squared. X is 1 times 2, y was 3. If I plug these into y prime, I get, what is that? I'll just put it in. 4 root
Wait, hold on. How are you
9
doing?
plus 7. I'm plugging
To
everything in.
negative
Okay, okay, cool.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. Plus 14 times 1. Then just evaluate everything. So inside of here is what, 9 plus 7? 16. So you get 2 over root 16 times, is that 6 times 4 is 24. Root 16 plus 14. So 2 over 4 is 1/2. Negative 1/2 power.
Oh, you have to plug back in the original thing.
Oh, the square, yes. 24 times 4 is 96. So 110. So half of 110 is 55.
Yep.
Voila. Thanks for the applause. Any questions on what I did anywhere? All right. That is the multiple choice. I expect everybody to do their free response by tomorrow. Unlike the people who didn't do their multiple choice, it's 3 questions. You've also
Do you
had
want us to do
a week and a
both
half.
part A and part B?
Yeah, it's a total of 3 questions.
Wait, what?
The free response for tomorrow. And if people have the free response done, I will give you Friday off. If you do not have the free response done, we will have to have class on Friday, and I'll make a quiz in class to make sure people show up. So if you do your work today, I won't make you have class on Friday. I'll give you Friday off. And somebody was asking a question.
Yeah, remember that essay I told you I had to write yesterday?
Yeah?
I finished it. And
I gotta do this.
Oh, your 500-word essay. That was not really hard.
It was fun.
It was not.
Okay.
All right. So like I said, once I can